Hey there, before this episode starts, just want to apologize for all the edits. We kept having a reoccurring technical issue that we had to plow through. It kind of became a joke by the end of it, but it is what it is. Shout out to Kevin, our only current patron. If you would like to become a patron today, go to patreon.com/passtime. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, follow us on Instagram, Spotify, and iTunes. Feel free to recommend us to anyone you feel might enjoy the show. All right, on with the episode. Hello and welcome to episode 13 of the Passtime Thinker podcast, rated 5 stars on iTunes by Chloe Hassan. I'm your host, Frederick Piquette, and today my guest is Ryan Caraveau. How are you today?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. How you doing in these times?
Oh, just been hanging out at home with the whole acting thing. Just been doing some online classes.
Yeah.
Doing some self-tape auditions, but besides that, skate parks opened up officially Tuesday, so finally getting outside. It's getting warm, so
it's getting so fucking hot.
Yeah, it's getting nice.
Oh, but yeah, how was you were in the midst of diving into the whole acting world while this whole thing happened. How's that going? Like,
oh man, it's been a trip so far.
Yeah.
Where do I start with that? Okay, so obviously we were in the same program together.
Yeah, you and I met in college.
Yeah, and then you're my roommate second year. So
yes, we were.
The good times. Delabo. Fuck. So remember the managing class? So anyways, I remember at the end he was getting us to kind of do like a whole template of like all the fundamentals of what you need to kind of transition from college into the industry.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was maybe a week before we finished. I had everything. So I had my like resume, which obviously was pretty bare bones. Not saying that it's
just college stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not much more now, but I've obviously been able to do a couple gigs
I've seen you on TV already.
Yeah, a little bit. But so I pretty much kind of had the anxious realization the week before we finished the program. I was like, shit, okay, like I'm about to be done. I'm about to go home, back to buttfuck nowhere. I live obviously outside of Ottawa, outside of Kemptville, so like I live on I was a dirt road and then it got paved, but like it's all farmland. So I'm like, hey, well, I can't fucking start my career back in doohickey nowhere.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, all right, well, now is the time. Like this is the time to send my shit and see if I had pretty much a week after we did our showing. I stayed a week after. Just because I guess my parents weren't able to get down at the time. So I sent some shit out, sent one to all the agencies just to kind of see which ones will respond. And then at the time, I was lucky that an agency got back to me the next day. And then pretty much what happened was I was like, okay, well, this is in the time frame of me being here. I can go meet with them. Mm-hmm. So I met with two. I met with one. The one that I'm actually with now, but at the time this wasn't my first agency. So I met with them before the agency that I first signed with. I went and saw them, and it was not what I expected. I was asked to pay some shit, and I pretty much
was like the first red flag we were taught.
Exactly. And I was like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? Like I don't really know how easy this is gonna be. So I kind of was like, all right, well, I have that other agency. So there's two agencies that contacted me. So the first one was right after we did the showings. You know how it was.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, well, I don't really know about that one. Like that seems like a bit of an investment. And obviously I'm out of college. I'm in debt. I don't have much more money to spend.
Yeah.
Not working, obviously, either. So I was like, okay, we'll go to the second one. And the second one, it was really great. It was a small little office down by like King Street East, and the guy pretty much gave me the exact layout of how you start your career, what you start off auditioning for, and he's pretty much telling me like in like pretty great metaphors. He's like, you gotta crawl before you walk, you gotta walk before you run, and these are the steps to get to like where some of the people were on the agency were like luckily being able to be actually in like pretty big Netflix productions and Hollywood films like so I was like, oh shit, this guy's got the groundwork. He knows, and me being aware of what his plan is for me was kind of like really like, oh damn, like
Well, it helps you know what you need to do to help his vision for you, right?
Exactly. It was all kind of like, it seemed like we were both like, he was meeting me halfway.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Well, especially if you're starting out, is something you really need.
Yeah, and like, obviously we were lucky that Mark told us what we needed to expect, what were the
Yeah.
do's and don'ts. But at the same time, when you're actually in those positions where you're getting told these things, that's not obviously like the most like you're not thinking about that all the time. So you're kind
Yeah.
of you're still a newbie, right? And,
Yeah.
like,
Like the
it's
classes
easier.
helped, but like the majority of the class was like, all right, here's to how to look for red flags and how to not give off red flags, and then
Exactly,
do with that as
exactly.
you will.
Uh
And
huh.
the rest of it is just like you need experience.
Uh-huh, exactly. And like everybody has a different experience when like they're getting started out. So I was like, okay, well, this one seems good. Ended up going back I went back home because I talked to them and I was like, they're pretty much like, you need to sign up for some casting websites and stuff like that. Pay the fees for those. It's not paying a fee for an agency, but
Yeah.
paying the membership fee, the yearly membership fee for these casting things and a
Which
couple other
is
things.
normal.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's totally like that's what you need to do. Every agency you go with will tell you need to do that.
Yeah.
So I went back about a week later. I was with my homies from back home. We went and rented an Airbnb to go skate, but I also went to go skate. But my low key plan was one of these days I'm gonna go in and sign. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So second day, I was kind of hungover, and well, we were up pretty late. And then
That was a
I
good
was like,
time.
yeah, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go downtown. We were out in like Eglinton East, or Eglinton West, sorry. And to my buddies, we were all gonna go skate, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go down early. I gotta go meet with this agent. Went down, obviously met with the guy before, signed with him, and
Yeah.
then next thing you know, uh, I think I signed May 1st, so this is like just over 2 years ago.
Okay.
And then I didn't get my first audition till the day after our showcase night, which was my first audition.
Hmm.
And obviously, again, they tell you what to prepare for, but at the same time, when you're doing it, it's totally different.
Exactly.
Exactly, like they can only take you so far. Like they can't hold your hand the whole way. So when you're doing it, and I was pretty excited because the day after our showcase, which was great. I love that. That was such a fun night.
It was.
Yeah, it really was. Pretty much, the thing is like I feel like they told us this in the program, but again, you never like prepare for it. Is like there really will be times where like it is extremely random when they will tell you when you have an audition.
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah. So I didn't get food. I think I might have like ate something wonky the night of that showcase. So the next day I dropped off my mom in the morning, and I had to go to the bathroom pretty fucking bad. So I was like racing home, and I get like this thing on my phone, and it's like, hey, you have a self tape due today. So not only is this your first audition, but it's a self tape, which is quite different.
Do
There's
it
some
on the
different
toilet.
rules.
Do it on the toilet.
Exactly. So I was like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I look at the script, and it's 4 pages, and it's due in like 2 hours. So this is not good. I was like, oh man, like I have to go take a fat shit, and I have to memorize these lines. And so I like race home, and the thing about a self tape too is like this one specifically, it was for like a TV show. It was like a YouTube. I don't know if they still have it, but it was like a YouTube, like almost like a Netflix
Okay.
version for like YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube
Like
Red.
YouTube, yeah, YouTube Red. So it was like a show for that, and like it was like I was like, oh shit, this is pretty fucking, it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And the scene had like 3 characters in it, including me.
Hmm.
So I had my sister. My parents are both working, so my sister had to read lines for every character, while I am looking all around, like thinking, okay, where do I have in my brain?
Character A
Where's
is
he?
here.
Yeah, exactly.
Character B is there. I am character C.
And the characters are doing some physicalities. Like the whole thing is like, oh man, like don't break into that place. You know what I mean? That was the whole thing. And then I'm like, don't do it. And then he goes and does it. But obviously, I'm in my fucking living room staring at a fucking wall.
Yeah.
So I have to pretend that this guy's breaking into a place. So like the good thing though is obviously I guess it wasn't that good at the time because I had a time limit. But usually with self tapes, like you do it until you're satisfied.
Yeah.
Which is usually the
Because
farthest thing.
you choose the final product
Exactly.
that you send them.
Exactly. And you usually have more than 2 hours. Usually, like, you'll find out, oh, you have something due on Friday, and
Yeah.
sometimes you'll get it on a Sunday. So I was like, okay, well, I only have 2 hours, and I remember like in between takes, I was literally fucking punching a pillow. I was being like, fuck, you know what I mean? Because I was like, time's ticking, and you got to upload it from your phone and everything.
Hmm.
I was able to submit that, and then I got a callback, or I guess it's still called a callback. It's a self tape.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, you know what I mean? So June 1st of 2018 was like my first like audition in person, and it was just like a one line thing. It wasn't for the same character. A lot of the times with self tapes, they'll get you to audition for like one of the main characters, and then sometimes they'll weed you out to like a secondary or
Yeah.
maybe even just an episode. So I don't know exactly what the character was. I haven't watched the show or anything. I don't know.
Screw those guys.
yeah, screw those guys. Fucking didn't cast me on my first ever audition.
What the hell? I've
And,
seen the movies. I'm supposed to get the part.
exactly, right away. Make it snappy. And so I went in, and pretty much I remember it was pretty big casting director, a guy who casts a lot of CBC shows and stuff like that, and some of the, I believe, Star Trek actually too. I don't
Oh,
know for sure about
nice.
that, but I remember I went in and I fucked up my first time doing it,
Hmm.
and
Were they
it
aware? Did you make them aware? Do you think they knew? Is that something that you don't really talk about, or
like when you fuck up,
no? Like when it's your first time, or like if
I
you're
didn't.
if you know you're new at this, or they should know just by looking at your
They
resume, right?
Yeah, they should know. Sometimes they don't even look at your resume. Sometimes they'll look at your
Your
at your
headshot.
headshot.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or even sometimes it's literally just what agency you're with, and that casting director is on really good terms with your agency, and they'll push you to the front of the line because
Yeah.
you know they're close with the talent agent. So yeah, I didn't let them know because obviously like one of the things that we'll get into the whole like audition process after about like kind of like what I've found out so far, but I didn't really want to say much. You know what I mean? I like it's a long day for them, right? Like
Yeah.
they're sometimes spending like almost like 8 to 10 hours
Yeah.
seeing all sorts of different walks of life.
Like it's
All
10,
sorts of
15 minutes of your time, but they've been doing that all day.
Exactly. So I'm not trying to fucking, waste their time. So I went in, I fucked up the first line, and it wasn't like me being like, it wasn't me like missing a line or something. It literally, those times when like you start a scene or something like that, and literally you stumble. So it's like, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what
Just
happened.
have
Like,
word
halfway
vomit
through.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Word vomit. So I did that, and I was like, oh shit, like, can I redo it? Because obviously I'm not like this is my only fucking time to like this is my opportunity. I don't want to
Yeah.
stumble my way through and be like, okay, see you later. That's it's just not a good idea. So I was like, hey, can I like do it again? Did it again. And then one of the big things that they always do with auditions that I've found so far, obviously most of my auditions, this is for a TV show, but most of my auditions are usually for commercials and stuff like that. I have done a decent amount, but
Yeah.
they'll usually do a redirect. And I think, honestly, not only is your interpretation, but I think the redirect is actually the most important part of it
Oh yeah.
because they want to see how you can take direction. And usually your interpretation is obviously like your creative outlook, which is very important because they're like, oh, this kid's,
Oh yeah.
he's
I mean,
making some.
even in our program, like the audition to get into our program, they were redirecting. Like redirect is
Exactly.
like one of the most crucial things. Like when I had to audition to get into our program, like one of my monologues was like this huge rally cry from Les Miserables. And like it's basically I'm playing this guy who's like speaking to like a couple hundred people, like trying to like let's go to fucking war. Let's they can't kill all of us. And then my redirect was to all right, do the whole thing again, but as if you're talking to your lover. And I'm like,
Yep.
oh what? And like
Yeah,
I had to just like throw everything out the window and just be like, all right, how do I like because when you're practicing monologues and stuff like that, you're like you kind of get like your body memorizes things too. So like
For
you
sure.
know
You
like
got mannerisms that you do on certain
Yeah.
words.
so like the one of the biggest tests for an actor is the redirect. Sorry about that. We just had some technical difficulties. They're all fixed up now. We just finished talking about how redirects are one of the biggest things people use against actors to really gauge how good or how not good they can be on the spot.
Yeah.
But
Improv.
yeah, essentially improv.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you continue doing auditions, right?
Yeah. So again, like I was able to get some good feedback from that one, and he was able to highlight my name and stuff like that. But again, with the audition process, it really comes down to like a lot of it is luck, but sometimes it doesn't take a good redirect. Sometimes it just takes a look or the experience or even your agent. So I didn't get that one, but obviously when I did my first audition and I got that feedback, I was pretty excited. Like, oh fuck, maybe I can do this. Maybe I am going in the right direction. Obviously, the training helped because people at Seneca, their teachers are pretty fucking incredible.
Oh yeah, we had like a star-studded cast of professors at that college,
and like from all walks of life, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody had different experience. Some people were more experienced with theater. Some people were, doing commercials and stuff like that. Some were singers.
We'd have certain professors like, oh yeah, they made it big, like just doing theater. This actor, like this professor, movies. This actor, really good at voice acting. Like and they were all really good at what they did.
Yeah, 100%. So my second audition was the Tim Hortons audition, which was, again, luckily my first gig. I was extremely lucky that I was able to land my second gig. That's, again, you read a lot of actors who talk about, they weren't able to get, their first like gig for, years, and it's all different for everybody. People have dry periods. Some people get it off right out of the gate. Some people get it off right out of the gate, then have a slow period. Everybody's different. So right before Canada Day, I got an audition for the Tim Hortons commercial. They don't tell you much about it. They just give you the sides. So my side was like, I'm in a drive-through. I pull up too far away from the window. Or obviously, the whole deal. But so I was auditioning at Man Casting. So obviously, I don't know any of the casting places. This is my second audition. This was different from the first place. I was not the same casting studio.
Yeah.
So I think that one of the most challenging parts sometimes is like, sometimes it's easier to audition by yourself because you know what you prepared, right?
Yeah.
But when you go in with somebody else, they have some other motive in mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially if you haven't worked together or talked about the scene together.
Exactly. And sometimes you go in there and they're trying to steal the scene from you, or sometimes they're not on the same wavelength, or they're nervous and you can tell that, and you kind of have to keep it going, pick it up, you know what I mean? Yeah. This guy was pretty fucking great, honestly. The guy I went in with the first time who played my dad, he was not the guy who ended up getting it, but he pretty much get called. Pretty much what happens is usually some of the times it's not the casting director in there. Usually for the first audition, it's never the casting director. It's just somebody who will film it. So who works for the casting director. So she's like, hey, you two are going to be playing dad's son. Oh, hey, I'm Ryan. Oh, hey, what's your name? Like, oh, Chris, whatever. I was going, good. And then this is what you're going to be doing. So we went in, and then like the guy honestly was great because he like instantly was not like, oh, this is how I'm going to do it. He's like, what do you think? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, well, this part for the dad, like, I'll do this. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll like reach super awkwardly and you'll kind of be like you little shit. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
You want to get smacked again?
Yeah, exactly. So we did it, and he honestly, like, we had one take where we're like, oh, let's do it like this. Like, oh, I'll do it that way. I don't remember exactly how, like, what our take on was it. But I remember one take, it was like he ended up going across and like grabbing it from me. You know what I mean? Because like the whole like idea is like, oh, I can't grab it, and then, oh, son, you can't grab it? Okay, I'll reach across you and grab it. So we did that, and then obviously with the audition process, a lot of the times you leave it there when you're done. You do it, and then you're kind of like, I'm gonna leave it. I'm not gonna try and think about it, which is hard because.
Oh, absolutely.
You want it, but you don't want to invest that much emotion and like, thought into it, because when you don't get it, that's when it burns. You know what I mean? And they never give you a timeline of this is when you're gonna hear back or whatever.
You'll know by
exactly.
You'll know when we tell you.
They try and I guess let you off lightly by kind of keeping that in the air, but at the same time it's not really light, because it's like, well, then you're really thinking like, what day should I hear back?
Yeah. So
usually what I like to do, and I started doing this pretty quickly, was on the sheet, they'll usually ask you, are you available these days? So usually you look at those days and be like, okay, well, that is the day that I'll be shooting. So let's say that's 2 weeks from now. I should be hearing back by the end of this week. And if I don't hear by the end of this week, probably didn't get it. So I did the audition. Obviously, I only told my parents. Didn't want to speak too soon. Yeah. Remember, I ended up finding out that I had a callback, and I I think it was the 2 days after Canada Day. So I went to a party, didn't tell any of my friends or anything really. I said I went to an audition. I didn't want to tell them, oh, it's just Tim Hortons or,
Yeah.
Whatever. Because, again, when you start to boast, that's when life will sometimes be like, okay, you fucker. Like, you think you got it? No, you don't.
It reminds me of that scene in, have you watched the movie This Is the End? With
Oh.
So as I was saying before we got cut out again, oh my god. It reminds me of that moment in This Is the End, where James Franco's character is like finally being sucked up into heaven. He's like, yeah, fuck you, and then he just gets dropped out of the sky.
Exactly. That's how it feels like, metaphorically, obviously, but yeah. So I ended up getting, so obviously it's my second audition, so I'm not really trying to put a lot of thought to it. So I was kind of just like, I left it, and I'm like, if I hear back, whatever. So I found out, I think on Canada Day, that I got a call back. I was like, oh shit, that's cool, but obviously not like trying to get my hopes up too high. I was like, all right. And this one was interesting. Obviously, it was, my callback was at Man Casting, and it was early. And obviously, at this point, this is what really made me want to move back to Toronto, because when you get callbacks, it'd be like, all right, for 10 in the morning. And
you kind of want to be close.
4 hours away, so you can only imagine. And obviously, thinking about, I have this callback, and then having a 4-hour drive to get to that audition.
Yeah, you'd have to leave at like 5 a.m. to
exactly.
Yeah, to do a callback that might not even you get anything out of.
Exactly. So I was very grateful that like my dad was extremely supportive, and he drove me down that time. I had my G2, but I didn't drive in the city. I drove in Ottawa, but Toronto's a different beast. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So he drove me down for that, and he drove me down for my first audition and the first one for the Tim Hortons. So the callback, he also drove me down, and I went down, and pretty much they have like a little callback room. It's right by, like kind of like the left. You don't even really know what it is. Like it's like pretty much like a big square, and then there's like a room in each corner.
Yeah.
And then right when you walk in, before like, so there's like a little hallway, and then it enters a square. Like in the hallway, there's another room, and then pretty much they brought me in there. And then I'm sitting there, and like there's obviously other people there, couple. It's weird too, because like when you go there, there'll be people who look like you.
They're looking for a look, right?
Yeah, and then sometimes there isn't. Sometimes there's like a blonde-haired kid, or there's a kid who's like fucking a lot. Obviously, for me, I look young, so I'm.
Yeah, we were told that like as a class, we were told that early in our program that you in particular would have a pretty easier time getting commercial work because of how young you look.
Yeah, and I guess I was able to use that to my advantage, because in high school that was not something I was really happy about.
Yeah, like to put it into perspective for the listeners, when our first day of class, when I met you, legitimately the first thing that like entered my head is like, oh, this must be some like kid genius who like graduated high school at 13 and he's just doing this for fun. And I was like, there's no way he's our age. And then we went to our first little party there, and scared the shit out of me.
Yep. Yes. I remember Mark had to double check that I was of age before he let me into the program.
Yeah, I did not believe you were anywhere close to our age. I thought you were like 14 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe 15.
Obviously was a late grower, so I had my growth spurt better part of halfway through the program.
Yeah, and then you got tall, like over the summer between first and second year.
Yeah, which is a trip. But that's a fucking different story. But so it's honestly, for again like my casting hit, again it's way younger than I am.
Yeah.
So usually I'm 21 right now, but usually for my auditions I'm going in as like a 15, 16-year-old. So like it's still intimidating, but there's definitely like you definitely have like a little bit of an edge. You're like, okay, like I can have an adult conversation with these people when I go in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I only look that young, but
yeah, exactly.
Which again was like a huge hurdle. Like becoming your friend and like having classes with you was like a huge hurdle for me to get over. Like the first month or two, it's like you look like my younger brother, but you're very much on the same level as me.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you are my age.
Yeah, it's like brain is developed, just body not so much at that point. That definitely kind of like gave me a little bit of confidence at points. I'm like, oh, all these like kids are fucking like 15, you know what I mean? I'm 21, like, you know, even like if I can have a conversation with these people, they'll know, oh, this kid's like, you know, this kid's mature.
Yeah.
So or I hope I am, but so I remember I was in like the little waiting room outside this callback room, and there's this light skinned guy sitting there, and it's just me and him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy looks like, he's like a dad, and I'm like in my head, I'm like, there's no way this fucking guy is gonna be playing my dad. I mean, I'm white as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And this guy's like, he's mixed, but like it's like, I definitely would not like, on a commercial you'd be like, probably look at that and be like, huh?
Yeah, but that whole dynamic has been like changing in the commercial world.
Yeah, for sure. But like at that point, like obviously when you're in a callback, you're kind of like, whoa, like what?
Yeah.
Is this what I'm doing? Okay, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, what's your callback time, or what's your audition time? And he's like, oh, like blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh shit, like that's my time too.
That's me.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, okay, well, like I'm actually like I'm married to I'm married to like an Irish girl, like my son, like pretty much same skin tone as you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, all right, like, you know what I mean? He's like, all right, like, let's do it. And then, like, a lot of the times, like, when you go in for a callback, there will be the casting director, but it's mostly the people that are going to be making the decision. So it's like, for commercials, it's usually the corporate people.
Yeah.
So there's this, I fucking walk in, and there's like 7 fucking people behind this fucking big ass, like kind of boardroom, like, table.
Yeah.
And you go in and you're like, whew, first callback, or... So my first audition when I did the callback, it was just a casting director.
Yeah.
This was a commercial, so I guess they were obviously getting it produced a lot quicker than a commercial. They have a lot more that they have to put into a TV show, so
yeah,
a lot more steps to take. But I went in. It's like fucking 8 people. I go and I do it, and I thought I fucked it up for sure. Like this guy was great, who I was with, who was playing my dad. But I went in, and they're like, yeah, like you can say something if you want, you know what I mean? Like when you come up and you're too far away, like when you look at them, and they're like, yeah, like so I didn't say anything the first time, and then I misheard what he said for the second take, and the guy who was giving me the redirects, I didn't know at the time was the director, because they're not going to tell you,
no.
You know what I mean? So he's like, yeah, like you can say sorry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought he meant like you can if you want to, but I think he was more saying like, yeah, say sorry.
You can do it because I'm telling you to.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't do it again. And he's like, yeah, no, like this take, I want you to say sorry. And in my head, I'm like, oh, fuck. Like I just fucked up my chance. Like I didn't take the direction, you know what I mean? And I did it. And obviously like I was very subtle about it. Like I was kind of like, oh, sorry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, obviously they're looking for different stuff than what you think you're putting out there.
Yeah.
So I left, and I remember my dad's like, "Oh, how'd it go?" And I'm like, "I don't know."
Starts crying. I fucked it up, Dad.
Take me home.
I like my other dad better.
And yeah, and then I was like, "I don't know." And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, I don't know. Did it go good? Don't know. Did it go bad? I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? So we're going on the way home, and the one thing that I don't know, maybe I wasn't paying attention, but like in the program, they didn't really tell us about being put on hold.
Yeah.
They didn't really talk about that. They talked about callbacks, and then when you land the gig, and obviously auditions, redirects, stuff like that, slate. But they didn't really talk about being put on hold. And being put on hold, I thought, so I was halfway home, and I get this email, hey Ryan, you're being put on hold, like you're available these dates, right? And I was like, oh fuck, like being put on hold means like, I thought, oh, they're processing me to get the gig, so I haven't.
Oh.
So I'm like, Dad, I got the fucking gig, you know what I mean? I'm put on hold. And my dad's like, yeah, and we're all like celebrating.
Yeah.
And then like I'm sitting there and I'm going home and I'm like, I think I know what being put on hold means. Like I should look it up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just like look up what does being put on hold mean for actors in an audition, and it says, oh, you're in the final round and you don't have the gig, but you're either it's you and a couple other people, and they're gonna make the decision today. So it's no, you don't have it. You don't have it. You're in the finals, but
yeah,
you can. Your chance is like 50-50 or even less if there's more people. And I think there was 3 of us in the final process. So I was like, oh no, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, I just spoke too soon. I'm like, this other guy's gonna get it. Like this is life gonna be like, oh, surprise, motherfucker. And this is what being put on hold is. So at the time when I went back, when I was back home, I was working at Walmart again. I worked there through high school, but I got rehired pretty quickly because they knew me.
Yeah.
And I remember I worked the next day. I was working on meat as a meat associate, so I would have to open up the meat department at 4 a.m.
Jesus Christ.
So I got there at 4 a.m, and I was assuming, I'm like, today is going to be the day if I find out. So I was like, I'm not going to look at my phone. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, that's just going to put me in a bad headspace. I'm going to be like, waiting for something.
Yeah.
And then I remember like I was looking. So the first part of my shift, I was looking at my phone, and then I had the whole idea like, don't look at it. Like it's going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
So I didn't look at it, and then like I was like, did I just hear a buzz in my pocket? Like what the fuck? And I look and it's
rips the phone out.
Yeah, I look and I'm like, missed call, and it's like voicemail. And then this is my agent. It's like, hey Ryan, like I just want to say like congratulations, you got the gig.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, holy fuck, you know what I mean? Yeah. I was like, oh my god. And I was just like, this is incredible, you know what I mean? I called my dad right away. I go hide in the shitter. I'm at work, but I'm like, fuck this, you know what I mean? Like, fuck this Walmart shit. Like, and
I'm on a Tim Hortons commercial. I quit.
And they're like, this was Friday. This was a Friday, so I had the audition on Thursday. And they're like, yeah, so you're filming it Monday. And oh no, you're filming it Tuesday, but the wardrobe is Monday. And I'm like, oh man, like I'm booked for this whole fucking weekend and next week. So I'm like, oh bro, like this isn't good. And then little did I know. So this is another thing that, again, we had an amazing program. They taught us a lot, but there's a couple of things that I wasn't really taught that well on. Mm. And one of them is when you're non-union, you still can audition for union.
Yeah, so they did tell us that.
Yeah, no, but they didn't. They told us that, but they didn't tell us like the process of like how it works.
Okay.
So you have to pay. So this was a union commercial because this was a Canadian national television commercial. So I had to pay $450 for a permit to do the commercial, and it was Friday. It was in the morning, and actor closed early on Friday, so I had to call them, get a permit, print it out, send it to the people who were casting me by the time actor closed. So I had to go take like an hour and a half break, and I had to like I couldn't take an hour and a half, so I had to like hide. Yeah. But I had to buy the permit that day. I had to print it off. I had to send it in. I had to call ACTRA, tell them what I'm doing, all that. ACTRA was obviously great about it, but it was just like it was so clustered, right? And then I was just like, holy crap, like this is like moving so fast, and like what was worrying me is like I won't get it in time, and then they'll have to pick somebody else because they can't legally have me on there. Yeah. So I'm like, I can't let this opportunity slip. So I did it all. I was able to do it. I drove down like 2 days later. And then, there was the whole like trip of like what the like first day you show up for like the wardrobe. It's really interesting. You're usually at like the place where like the casting studio is, or it's usually the production place. So like the office building. And I stayed at my buddy Lenny's place. You met Lenny.
I have met Lenny.
Yeah, so I stayed. He was very kind enough to let me stay there for like 2-3 days.
He's a very kind guy.
He is a very kind guy. Interesting fellow.
Very.
And so I went in, and the wardrobe process is an interesting one. They get you to try on all sorts of different outfits, and pretty much I would go into like the boardroom, and they're looking at you and they're like, he doesn't look good in that, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
just getting judged.
You just feel like a fucking like a test tube subject or something, and they're just like, that doesn't work, you know what I mean? And like,
give
you think
them
they're
something.
talking,
yeah,
exactly, and you're like, man, this is weird, but like obviously they're talking about my look, not me personally, so like. And then, I spent like 4 hours that day. I got
just trying outfits on.
Dude, literally. For the Staples one, bro, it was a lot longer.
Oh my god.
I think it was 8.5 hours for Staples.
Oh my god, of just trying on.
Yep. Every 5 minutes, new outfit.
Oh my god. It's not slutty enough. It's not smart enough.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's not sophisticated. And so then. I got to meet the girl who was the Tim Hortons employee, who is actually a Tim Hortons employee.
I heard that Tim Hortons do that. Like, Tim Hortons actually includes actual employees in their commercials.
That was really fucking cool, because I was like, it was cool, but obviously like a little bit intimidating, because I'm like, like you're an actress, like what do you mean? She's like, oh no, like they just pretty much sent out this like, it almost sounds like not like a competition, but like put your thing in for a chance to be in a commercial. Yeah. So it's like she was from like fucking like Nova Scotia or something.
And she came to Toronto?
And they flew her in, bro.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Like there was some like this was a
I'm beginning to think this isn't your come up story. This is hers.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit, man, like she got flown in, You know what I mean? All this shit.
I had to
And
pay $450.
just to be on set. Shed a tear in the bathroom. But yeah, so like yeah, she was super nice, and like the next day we filmed in Etobicoke, and Lenny lives on the West End, so I had the car. Like this was actually the good thing was like my dad didn't drive me home or didn't drive me in that day, so I actually brought the car down and I had it for the 3 days that I was down there.
Okay.
It was only a day shoot, so one day was wardrobe, then the next day 6 o'clock sharp, fucking get to set. And you know, you're a little nervous. There's like have this whole Tim Hortons that's an actual Tim Hortons, but it's like shut down for the day. And you know, I show up and I'm like, hey, like, you know, I'm here for the commercial. Obviously, you're not gonna like walk on set on your first gig and be like, step aside, peasant. You know what I mean? Like,
today's my day. It's just so Wednesday for you. Today's my day.
Yeah, so I like went in and I'm like, oh, like, you know, like I'm here for the commercial. Like, oh, like what? You know, a lot, like they're obviously not gonna like expect you to be like the main person or whatever. So I was like, yeah, like I'm in it. And they're like, oh, like you're playing Jack. Oh, okay. Like, so I went into the wardrobe and got to meet some amazing people who work wardrobe in Toronto, and told me some pretty incredible stories about some of the people that they worked with. And it was honestly a trip. The whole day was like crazy. Like I can go on for fucking hours about this, but yeah, like pretty much it was really interesting because since it was Canadian National, I'm obviously not too aware of the Quebec Union or anything like that, so I thought it was playing all across Canada. It was, but except for Quebec. So Quebec had its own actor and own Tim Hortons actors.
Do the same commercial?
The exact same commercial. And every single time I do a scene, he would be the one coming after. So it'd be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I do whatever, and then he'd do it, and then I do it. And so it was cool though, because like I got to do my interpretation, and then watch what he would do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was pretty great. Like they're really nice. Everybody was great on set. It was pretty cool because it was like a union commercial, so they had quite a bit of like money involved in the whole thing. So like fucking like catering, man. Like they were giving me some crazy food.
Did Tim Hortons cater it?
Yeah, so yeah, I got free Timmy. So they had, dude, this is a cool thing. They had a Timmy's truck, and I could go up and order anything from it. Really? So I would just go in and be like, I need a coffee or like a donut or something. But then they actually had like, so they always have like a trailer for like the chefs. So like they came over and like, oh, do you want like a smoked salmon sandwich? And I'm like, oh, cool, that's lunch. No, that's a snack. That was the snack. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then for lunch they like took us in a van, gave us like, you know, pretty much buy whatever the fuck you want at this like Italian restaurant.
Oh,
everybody from the cast got to sit down. I was with all the Quebec actors and the guy who played my dad, and there was one car in the commercial that was behind us, and I guess the girl in the car behind us, obviously just extra. They got called in last minute to do extra work, but I guess like the actress is like a pretty well-known, respectable like Quebec actress, and the guy who played my dad was bilingual. So like I got to like learn about him and like her and all that interesting stuff, and yeah, like it was pretty cool. Like honestly, like the director was super nice. He was actually from California. It was a trip though, because like with commercials, it's a little bit of a different dynamic, because like on TV shows and stuff, it's like the director's vision and obviously the producers, but it's like almost like the director is like channeling what the corporate people want. So there was a van, or not a van, there was like an RV full of corporate, and he had an earpiece, and he would do his take, and then corporate be like, no, we want you to do this or that. Yeah. So fucking, it was just, I don't know, the whole experience was like really surreal, like, because I was like, oh, this is how it is, you know what I mean? And like it almost seems like a totally different world. Like these people are like, you know, putting all this money into this. Everybody has different experiences.
Well, and it must be frustrating now, because, you know, you did the Tim Hortons commercial, and then you were also in a Staples commercial, and then, so like it must really feel like you were, you know, on the rise, like at least in terms of like getting steady work, and then just shut down. Yeah. Done. Everything's put on pause. Everything like.
No, it honestly was weird.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, obviously, like, there's only so much, like, obviously it sucks, but at the same time, it's like, all right, well, maybe this is like meant to happen. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not saying like, oh, it's a prophecy or some shit, but it's
Yeah.
like, all right, well, now I get some time
To
to like
reflect.
to reflect, and not only that, but now I get time to like fucking practice a bunch. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
have time now to take these acting classes. I had obviously had time when I was doing that too. I just wasn't doing it. But
Yeah.
now that I don't have any sort of like like channel for me to do my acting, now I have time to do these classes with. I'm doing class with Toronto Actor Studios with Thet, and
Hmm.
he's a great teacher and he's fucking amazing. And I get to go to these classes weekly and I get to practice my craft and I get to just like try and improve. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
whenever it does open, I'll be more I'll probably be more prepared than when I was doing that stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
So, and not only that is the fucking this industry is going to be on overdrive
It
whenever it
is.
comes
It's
back.
going to get so inflated.
Everything is so backlogged, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like everything's going to be shooting. So like I'm excited and like knock on wood, get some great opportunities ahead of me. So
Oh,
I think this
absolutely.
is honestly kind of a good period to like take a breath and go, okay, now back to the basics. Now just focus on your craft. This is what it's about. This is like, you know what I mean? It's almost like school again.
Yeah. I
So
mean, for right now, I think this is a good place to leave it off at while we get into
yeah,
the ad reel, and then
hmm
we will be right back.
for sure.
Alrighty. This episode is sponsored by Brotherhood MFG. Brotherhood MFG is a clothing brand centered around Japanese car culture with a fresh style, and they've even given me a special discount code to give to you guys. So if you go to teespring.com/stores/brotherhoodmfg and use discount code Passtime in all capitals, you'll get 13% off the entire store. All right, and we're back for the third time because the audio keeps cutting out. We're not really sure what's going on there, but anyways, um, uh, Ryan, you and I know each other because we went to school together. We went to college together.
Uh,
That's how we met.
yeah, student village or student, not even student housing. It's just the village.
Yeah, that's where we lived together in our second year. It was
Yeah,
like a residential area that pretty well, I guess there was like a agreement with the landlords where they would only rent to students.
yeah. Like I don't really know what the whole thing was because like I I'm actually I haven't told you this. I'm actually living there, or I have a place right there. Again,
Oh, really?
yes, I do. I
Hmm.
do.
I mean,
I'm on the other side of the village now.
oh, okay. For
Yeah.
for people who don't quite understand, basically what our living situation was, we basically lived in a house,
Hmm.
but this house would have like a million bedrooms,
Yeah.
and we were technically renting the bedrooms,
Hmm.
and everything else was communal.
Yeah. It was weird. Like I think the weirdest part was like we practically like had the basement.
Well, yeah, because we were in three of the four basement apartment bedrooms,
Uh-huh.
whatever, and
And
our fourth roommate was just never there.
yeah, he was never there. It was weird too, cause like you guys like had like more like official kind of rooms, or like legitimate rooms. Like you had
Yeah,
your little hallway with the bathroom, and then it was like kind of like your room, and then Simon's room was like the part of this,
yeah,
and then mine was like it almost
right off
seemed
the
like
kitchen.
yeah, it was just like in the middle of the fucking kitchen. It was right beside the refrigerator,
Hmm.
so that was interesting. Wasn't the biggest fan of that room, but I think living with you and Simon made that a lot easier.
Yeah. I mean,
Because
it was still a fun time. Like the fact that we had
oh
like a
yeah,
monopoly on the house because one, two, three, four of us, three of us were in the basement, and another one of our classmates, Annie, who was on the podcast previously, she had one of the upstairs ones. So there were four of us living in this house. So we kind of, I don't want to say ran it, but we,
we had the biggest, I guess, say in like what was going on there.
well, yeah, because if it had to come to a vote, there was
Yeah,
already all of us, right?
yeah, 4v3, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a fucking. It's an interesting area. I don't really say it's a good area, but
I think it's okay for college students. Like it's an
yes,
okay college experience because it's kind of like living in residence and like kind of getting the residence experience without really spending the money to
a
live in a
lower
college residence.
grade
Yeah.
residence experience.
Yeah. Just with no security.
It's like the B version of what a residence should be.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, we did meet a couple of good people that way and a couple of
Yeah,
people that I would much care to forget.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get into that.
Yeah,
But yeah, no. I think it was I think for me, it was like more convenience over comfort compared
absolutely,
to
absolutely.
first year was the opposite, or comfort over convenience.
Yeah, because again,
But
it was super convenient. Like at least I had a bed, and I was 10 minutes away from campus, right?
yeah, and like the kind of like whole aspect. Obviously, I lived with Simon first year, but in second year, living with three people from my program,
Yeah.
and like when you got split off into the other
Yeah,
class.
that sucked. Our class got split up, and of the four of us, I was the only one in the other class.
Yeah, but like it also kind of added a cool dynamic because you would come home and tell me stuff that
tell you
happened.
tell you all the drama.
Yeah, all the draw. Yeah, fuck, too much of that. Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
But you come home and tell me stuff. Oh, this happened in this class. Or this, like, somebody did this or that. Or,
Yeah.
oh, I'm doing the exact same scene that you're doing. Good Will Hunting.
That was convenient. There was a couple times where me and you had some crossover, and we had like
Yep.
the same
Yep.
homework essentially, and I had the same homework with Simon a few times
Yeah.
as well, our other roommate. So
And not only that, but like obviously again, the living situation wasn't bad, wasn't amazing. So whenever it was, I was having days where I was like, "Fuck," you know what I mean? I'll come out of my room and you're chilling, cooking food or something. I'll be
yeah.
like, all right, I can talk to Fred for 3 hours, get my mind off living in a fucking closet.
I mean,
You know?
the day we all moved in, I cooked all of us dinner.
Yeah, that was great. That was
Yeah,
really great.
because I'm a bit of a cook myself.
Oh yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit.
Yeah, yeah, and it was great. Like we went and saw movies together. I remember we went and saw Justice League.
Yeah.
Me, you, and Jill went and saw It. Remember that?
Yep.
That was fun. But yeah, no, it honestly like kind of gave me like a sense of like community compared
Exactly.
to like yeah.
It wasn't
like,
the most comfortable place to live, but there was
no,
definitely a
no,
comfort in the community that we made out of it.
no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I fucking hated my room. I did not like
you,
it at
you,
all.
I mean, you got a window. I didn't even get a window.
I mean, you had space, so my God.
I did. I had a walk-in closet.
Yeah, I didn't have a fucking closet, man.
You had like a dresser, right?
Yeah, yeah, but the dresser didn't even have shit to put clothes in.
No, it was like one of those. I don't even know what they're called. It's just
Yeah.
one of those dressers that basically like you open the dresser and it's just like a hanging rack.
Yeah, it was awful. And then the Chronicles with the washing machine.
Yeah, our washing machine was never working.
It never worked. And so like the whole fucked up situation was our landlord, or not our landlord's brother,
Who lived upstairs?
who lived upstairs. But the whole thing is like he was almost just like a secondary character. Like the primary like thing was like we would have to deal with the landlord's brother's girlfriend
Yeah.
who thought she had some like God-given right that like she was like the boss.
She could have
of
just
this house.
evicted us whenever.
Yeah, and like you would have these, you could just tell from the beginning that like she just didn't. She was a very judgmental person. You could tell.
Oh, yeah.
That. And she didn't like us, and there was no way you could change that.
Yeah.
And you would have these very basic, stupid fucking arguments
Yeah.
about.
To be fair, to be fair, we did not make a good first impression. Because we did throw a fucking party our first night living there.
I wasn't there though.
Were you not there for that?
I was not. I showed up the next day.
Oh my god. Yeah, like our first night living there, we invited a bunch of people. We had quite a party. And yeah, she came downstairs and like screamed at us because I think it was like on a fucking Wednesday or something like that.
Yeah, I was not there for that. I remember I showed up the next day, and that's when I got the first taste. Because I remember the first night I stayed there, I passed out really early. I woke up at 1 a.m. There's a text on my phone from you. You were outside on the back with Annie.
Yeah.
And we were up shooting the shit till like 5 in the fucking morning.
Yeah, I still have that picture actually.
Yeah, so do I. And she gave a shit that night, and I was kind of like, whoa, this lady's really hostile for, not a very loud conversation. Like, what the hell? And then you told me about the previous night, and then I was like, oh, that's the dynamic already, which kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, I mean, eventually it got to the point where Annie did message the landlord, like asking specifically how much power she did have, and then after Annie told the landlord, she completely left us alone.
Yeah, no. For the most part.
Yeah. Well, she'd still give us like looks. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Fucking, it was so bad. think you were there for that, where it was like, no, Simon tried to get the landlord's brother. He wasn't there. She came down and was like, oh, this washing machine is not broken.
Yeah.
Me and Simon both were like, oh no, it's fucking broken. She's like, what do you mean? Like the buttons work. It's like that doesn't mean that it works. Like buttons,
Yeah.
push a button, but like it doesn't get the water out. It like pulls up.
Well, I know why that happened.
Why is that?
So remember how we had a coin. It wasn't a coin operated washing machine, but the washing machine was connected to a breaker, and the breaker was coin operated. So basically, you would put in like what $3, and then with the $3 in there, the breaker would give power to the washing machine for like what was it, like an hour and 15 minutes or something like that. So what would happen was the amount of time that you could put on the breaker was shorter than the amount of time it took for the washing machine to do a full cycle. So basically, the washing machine would be in the middle of a cycle, and then the breaker would just shut power off to it.
Yeah, and it would just have a shit ton of water in
your clothes would be swimming.
Yeah, and pretty much their whole aspect of that was, oh, too fucking bad for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't like, oh, it was weird because, like, obviously since our landlord didn't live there, he wasn't really around, and since the landlord's brother was there, he was kind of like supposed to be in charge, but he was so absent-minded in every way.
Yeah, which just sucks because our landlord was dope.
He was sick. He was super sick.
Like one of my favorite memories of our landlord was it was whenever it was they're Asian, and whenever it was some kind of like Asian holiday, he would come
Chinese, I believe.
Yeah, he would come to the apartment and give us all a gift in the theme of whatever Asian holiday it was, which was dope.
Year of the whatever. Yeah.
And one day we're all in Ryan's room rolling a joint, and you never really like shut your door. You always left it like a crack open.
Yeah.
And our landlord came to like give us, it was like a Tim Hortons gift card or something like that.
It was a $5 Tim Hortons gift card.
Yeah, just for whatever. Yeah. And he knocked on Ryan's door, and it was just like right out of the movies. He knocked on the door, and the door just kind of like creeps open, and he looks at us, and we're all huddled over Ryan, who's rolling this joint, and he just proceeds to have a normal conversation with us, and we all think we're in shit.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Yeah, and then he kind of just like looked at you. He's like, "You're not smoking that inside, are you?" And we're like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Like, I do it too." We're like,
yeah, he's like, I smoke weed. Like, I have fun. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I respect that fact that you're not coming out of the gate with this judgment of like, oh, you fucking like druggy. You know what I mean? You're gonna go with that in here. It's like, no, I will take it outside.
Yeah, I think the only thing that he asked us, he's all like, I don't care as long as you're smoking it outside. I don't care, but I prefer that you smoke it in the back porch than the front porch, just in case. And we went. And we went, okay.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, I had no problem with him. The only thing that I had a problem with was I fucked up at the end, and I forgot about the whole first and last month's rent.
Oh.
So what happened was when I was about to leave, our last month was April. It was paid for.
Yeah.
Obviously, your last month was later, or you extended it. But
yeah, I extended mine.
Yeah, so mine was April. I fucked up, didn't remember the fact that I gave him that month when I moved in.
Oh, did you pay him twice?
I paid him twice. He didn't tell me shit.
Oh.
And then he just took the money. He accepted it. And I hit him up like 2 weeks later after I had the realization, like, what the fuck? Like.
Yeah. All right, we just cut out again, but Ryan, you're telling a story where you accidentally paid rent twice.
Yes. So when I was about to move out, last month's rent, I already paid for it. I gave him the money. He accepted it. Pretty much I was talking to Simon, and he's like, why'd you pay that last month, dude? We paid for it. Yeah. And I was like, well, what the fuck? He accepted my money.
He may have just assumed you were also extending your lease.
Could have been, but like he had people looking at my apartment, which kind of gives me a different intention. But I messaged him and I was like, hey man, I gave you $600 and whatever dollars. I need that back. And he's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, for sure. And I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, you were gonna fucking take that money, weren't you? You're just gonna fucking, you're just gonna take that and be like, okay, well, this guy fucked up. I get to keep, better part of over $1,000. It's just like, that was like the one thing from that guy specifically where I was like, man, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I never had like any kind of issue with that because I was like, lucky enough to have a really good summer job in between first
Yeah.
and second year. So when I moved in, like I paid my rent for the whole year, like the day I moved in. So
Yeah, I
like
remember that. You were at the mine, right?
yeah, I was working in a
Yeah.
mine as an underground mechanic.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so like I didn't even have to like think about rent for like
Uh-huh.
that entire year.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I unfortunately had to get my parents to pay for that. I don't think I actually had a. Oh no, yeah, no. Between first and second year, I ripped my hand open really bad,
Oh, that's right.
which kind of prevented me from doing any sort of normal job because it was a pretty bad rip.
Yeah.
My I took my dog off the chain outside. She's a big husky, really big. Fuck. And I put her on the leash, and she likes to run. So I guess she like I'm free. I'm off the chain. I get to run.
Yeah.
I am loosely holding onto this leash, and it's almost like kind of like a rope type material, and it's like sliding through my hand as she's bolting it, and I decide to I can fucking stop her. So as it's sliding through, probably already cutting my hand, I grip down on it, and the webbing in between my index finger and my thumb just like it literally made like a noise, like, and I was just like, oh fuck. So I let go of the leash. I look, and there's this fucking hole in my hand where I
Yeah.
can see my thumb muscles.
It's like, oh look, that's that's my insides.
Yeah, that's how my thumb works, and I had to get like 12 stitches, and pretty
Oh.
much, yeah, couldn't really do much for the majority of the summer. And I mean, most jobs you need your fucking hands.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I can still kind of skateboard. So I just kind of skated with this fucked up hand, and then yeah, when I came back, second year, and yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, like honestly, it was. I think, but pretty much since the end of first year till the end of second year, I had a pretty rough go with my health. I guess
Yeah,
is the best way to put it.
yeah, didn't you have like appendicitis and didn't even know?
Yeah, so that's a good story. Let's section into that one.
That was that. I'm sorry. That was just like. By the way, guys, I had appendicitis this whole time.
Yeah, that was fucked.
Yeah,
So
your pain tolerance must be ridiculous if that's like. Oh.
yeah, I don't even know, man. Like honestly, looking back on it, I'm like, how the fuck did I not know?
Yeah.
But the whole thing was like me, you, and Simon got really. We used to always like go into Simon's room and play video games,
Yeah.
and we at the time were really into speedrunners.
That's true. Speedrunner. Oh my god.
This is when we were into that. This is like
I've
this
blocked
was
that
when-
game out of my memory.
Yeah, so this was right after the school went on strike. So we were
Yes.
probably on strike for about a week.
Yeah.
And, we're all chilling. I order some Pizza Hut to myself, get a big box of pizza, wings, fucking everything. I eat that, and Pizza Hut normally, doesn't work too well, but, when you're stoned and you're hungry and you're in college, you eat some gucky food.
Yeah.
So I ate a lot of it, and I remember we were playing speedrunners, and my stomach started to rumble, almost like a feeling of like, oh, you gotta go to the bathroom, gotta take a big deuce.
Yeah.
And then it like all of a sudden it just like it kind of like usually when you get gas, you kind of feel it moving down your body, and then you gotta go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
This one, it was moving down, and then it was like a halt. It was just like a like it was like my stomach like felt like it was fucking like bubbling, and I was like, oh, like, and I remember like my mouth started salivating, which is usually like a sign like most people it's like, oh, I got fucking puke. So I remember like I went to the bathroom, and like I just fucking I couldn't puke, and then like I remember this was like when we were playing speedrunners, and then like the rest of the night I kind of just like hung out with you guys, went to bed early.
Yeah.
And then it was during the strike, so every single day I was just kind of like hanging out. I honestly just thought it was food poisoning, or like maybe I had some.
Yeah, like you waited a long time before you went to go see somebody just to find out it was appendicitis.
Fucking 4 days,
Yeah.
4 or 5 days, 5 days before I got the surgery, or the 5th day I got the surgery.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like fucking, I remember I was hanging out with you and shit, and then I remember I was like, okay, this is like day 3 by now, and I was like, all right, well if it doesn't get better, I'll go tomorrow. Woke up in the middle of the night, and I sleep in my stomach, and I like moved, and it was like this really specific pain in like my lower abdomen. I'm like, whoa, like that's weird. Like why
Yeah.
is it right there? And then I was like, okay, before we obviously York Lanes was right there, and they had the apple tree or whatever, the medical clinic.
Yeah.
I think we all had Chronicles there, but
We did.
yeah. And I was like, all right, before I go into the studio, into the class to like practice, we were doing third term. I was like, I'll
Okay.
go fucking get it checked. So I go get it checked, and she's like, oh, like you might have appendicitis. You'll do an ultrasound tomorrow. I was like, oh, okay, like what the fuck, like you know what I mean? I'm like, whenever I've known people who have had it, you probably do too. Like it's usually pretty urgent when you
Yeah,
find
you
out
know,
have
like immediately.
yeah, it's usually like, oh, when you have it, you need to go get that shit cut out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well maybe I should look up online. Obviously, I don't recommend anybody to look up your symptoms online, but when it comes to appendicitis,
Because you'll find out you're already dead.
yeah, you probably have like terminal cancer and you should have been dead 10 months ago, but
According to the internet.
WebMD.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, it pretty much said if you had any symptoms, go to the hospital right away. And I'm like, well, this lady wants me to wait, and she's known that I've had it for 4 days, these symptoms. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this online on multiple things say, oh, you got to go in right away. So I'm walking back home, about to take an Uber from the Delabo apartment,
Yeah.
and you and Simon are walking to class.
I'm going to the hospital. I have appendicitis. All right, man. Good luck.
Yeah, you guys are like, where are you going? Where are you going? And I'm like, I'm going to the hospital. I have appendicitis. And I remember you guys just like, what? Like, and I remember you guys was like, okay, well, see you later. Like, I feel you guys probably were like, okay, yeah, bullshit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was like you like doing a goof on us. It's like, yeah, I'm going to the hospital. They told me I have appendicitis. Let's go find out what this really is.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
Like, that's kind of. I thought it was just like you like saying they told me I have appendicitis. I think they're full of shit. I'm going to the hospital to find out. So I was like,
Yeah.
fucking good luck, man.
Yeah, so I went, and then I spent like 8-9 hours at like, I think it was like North York Hospital, just fucking waiting. And pretty much they're like, oh, like they're like pressing on it on like my stomach. They're like, does this hurt? I'm like, not really. They're like, jump up and down. Like they literally had me do like fucking jumping jacks and shit. And he's like, oh, like the nurse is like, you don't have it. Like, you know, you'd be like on the ground wailing in pain if you had it. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like I get to leave the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I went for an ultrasound, and then the lady was like, you have to be extremely honest with me. Like, let me know when I press on things on like different areas of your abdomen, what hurts and what doesn't.
Yeah.
And then I told her, and then I was like chilling, and then they came over and they like bring over like an IV bag, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I thought they just said like, I'm good, I'm gonna leave soon. They're like, oh no, like, dude, you have appendicitis. Like, you have to get it cut out tonight. And I was like, are you fucking nuts? Like, what? Like, going from in the morning, not even knowing.
All right, we just got cut off again, but as Ryan was saying, he went from that morning not really thinking anything too big to being told he needs invasive surgery immediately.
Yeah, and I got it, went home. I live outside of Ottawa, stayed here for a week, recovered. Recovery's not bad. Obviously, back in the day, the surgery was probably really fucking risky, but now it's like I have 2 little like 0.5 centimeter incisions that are like on my ab, and I can't even see it. So I pretty much, yeah, like the scar's not even there really. Honestly, even the next day, I was fine. But yeah, I remember coming back after the strike, and we were all in Mark's class. What was that one with like the play? What was that class called?
That was I think it was just called like Acting 3.
Yeah. And I remember he's like, oh, like, how was your break? I'm like, oh, like, I had appendicitis. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you sure you're good? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I mean, it was like, I think 5 weeks by the time we got back.
I don't know, like, is there such thing as like tame appendicitis, or were you just like some weird fucking anomaly?
They said, like, so the whole thing was they actually did give me an option, like, oh, you can wait over the weekend and we can give you antibiotics to see if it can unplug. So the whole thing of appendicitis is like, it's a part of your lower intestine, and what happens is it gets clogged with poo.
Oh.
And it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. So it's all this bacteria, and what happens is it gets so like built up that it'll burst. And then after I did the surgery, 2 things I found out. First of all, I have an abnormally large appendix, which probably is one of the reasons why I was able to last that long. They said I had an appendix like the size of somebody who's like 6'4".
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that, obviously.
Yeah.
And
talk about like, getting to know yourself.
Yeah, really. I wish I could have kept that appendix, you know, would have like put it in like a little trophy. But then they're like, yeah, no, like if you stayed the weekend, it would have burst. So
you would have died.
I would have been close to it. I probably would have gotten really fucking sick.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was lucky. I count my blessings on that one.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, that was a great experience.
It's a great experience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yup.
Oh.
But,
Any health scares more recently? Have you wiped out on your skateboard at all, or? Because you're also a very avid skateboarder. Like that.
I
That's,
love skateboard.
like skateboarding is like 60% of your identity.
Yes. Been doing that for a long time. I haven't had anything like obviously you'll eat shit, right?
Oh yeah.
But obviously knock on wood. I don't want to I'm gonna go skate today, so I don't want to go break something.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I haven't had anything too bad. I rolled my ankle a couple times, but I actually, again, in second year, sprained my ankle really bad. So not only did I have appendicitis, I couldn't skateboard. And yeah, since then I've been pretty lucky. I eat shit a lot, but like it's mostly just a bruise or like, oh, you know, I can't walk.
That's part of the culture though of skateboarding. Like you're gonna wipe out.
Yeah, you gotta take slams to get better.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in like most sports, you're gonna fucking hurt yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like calling skateboarding a sport. It's pretty much a sport.
Oh, I think it's definitely a sport.
Yeah, like there's obviously competitive elements.
Yeah. Well, maybe
you know what I mean?
Maybe in terms of, I don't know. Maybe not the umbrella term sport, but you definitely need to be athletic to be good at it.
Yeah. No, for sure. You got to have like your balance and your agility and your endurance, but
yeah,
it's not obviously like, you know, you'll get a six pack or something, but you're not gonna like get some big fucking arms from it.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but yeah, no. Besides that, I've been skateboarding a lot, but no, been lucky. Overall, been lucky with skateboarding that I haven't had anything. I've had fucking really close calls, but yeah, no, I've been pretty blessed on that front.
That's good.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, man, like back to second year, like fucking. That was like a lot happened within that year. Like
yeah,
like even like in terms of the course, like we can even go into that if you want to. Like there was a lot that like we learned and that we did. I mean, we did like the mocap and stuff like that, right?
Oh, that was fun. The mocap studio.
Yeah, that was a blast. Like especially like it was kind of cool because like I don't know if you think this or if you feel the same way, but like first year was like getting the wheels going, getting your bearings greased, and then second year it's like takeoff. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
That's definitely what it felt like. Like, I know like a lot of people within our group, well, maybe not within like our group, but within the program, like a lot of people got impatient in the first year. And like we lost a couple people.
Yeah, we did.
And then
we lost three?
Something like 3 or 2, yeah.
Three.
And
don't
then,
want to say names. But
no. And then second year hit and like it was just like a different program. We were doing so much hands-on work. We were learning a lot. We were pushing limits that I felt
and it
weren't really being tested.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like they were taking it from like it's like first year was more of like you're a student to second year, you're going to be, if you're going to follow through with it, you're going to be a professional. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they really kind of like changed like the whole aspect of like how they obviously they treated you great throughout the whole thing, but it went from more of like obviously in second year still a student, but more of like you're a collaborator. You know what I mean?
You know what? If I maybe to overgeneralize, I feel like the first year tested us a lot physically, and I think the second year tested us a lot mentally.
Yeah,
which made it feel more engaging.
Like first year, it seemed like more of like you have to get all these like different pillars like solidified. And then like second year, it's like building on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like first year there was a lot of physicality. There was like I felt like I was getting physically tested. Yeah. And then in the second year it's like, oh, by the way, like you're gonna be crying at least once a week in front of people for a grade. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I actually one weird thing is I never this is not by any means like a flex or anything. I never actually cried on
Oh really?
Any scenes? No, I never did.
I think I may have on 1 or 2 occasions.
Yeah, and I wish I did, you know what I mean? But I don't think I really had any scenes that like really like obviously Anita was pretty
oh my god.
Yeah, she was pretty fucking great. She would really get you to dive into some like emotional stuff. But
Yeah.
like with me, like I never really, I kind of, I guess, like was um not, I wouldn't say fortunate, because obviously you want to do that and like feel that vulnerability in front of people, but
Yeah.
she kind of like did some stuff with other people, and I would just be like, whoa, you know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
I was generally unscathed from that, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I never really felt like I was much of a crier as an adult, and then I don't know. I got put in some vulnerable positions in the second year that
Yeah.
got to me in a way that I didn't think it would.
No, for sure. And just like seeing other people go through that, and just like that sense of like, like we're like, it almost felt like just like our class was like a big family by
Yeah.
the end of it. It was pretty great.
Well, I think it's because we were consistently being put in a vulnerable position in front of each other that made us
Yeah.
close to each other. Because like after that, all we would have for each other is just sympathy and empathy, like 24/7 towards one another. Again, it may be excluding like a couple of people, of course, but
Yeah.
that's normal.
Yeah,
But
it's always, you're
but
always going to have certain people that are diving deeper than others.
yeah,
Obviously, there's some people in the program that didn't really take it too seriously, but that's like anything.
yeah,
But yeah, no, like I think first year was really getting to know yourself emotionally and like your triggers, especially with Anita
oh
and with
god, yeah.
Nikki. Like I mean, think about basic acting skills. What? No, not basic. That was Nikki. I think it was camera.
Camera one was
Camera one.
Anita.
Remember the first fucking class? She
Yep.
had us. She had us do like a story.
Yeah,
Remember?
sit down in front of the camera and tell an emotional story from your
Yeah.
life. It's like
Yeah.
day one, in front of a
Yeah.
bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
And it's like, now
And-
that you've done that, next week we're gonna watch them all in front of each other.
And like to think back on that from like where we ended it to the
Yeah.
beginning, it's like at the beginning when you saw that, you're almost kind of like, whoa, that's a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You kind of like it almost like it's unfortunate, but like a lot of our society doesn't really demand, like doesn't like almost try and like push emotion to the side. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like don't cry in front of people. You know what I mean? That's like a sign of weakness and stuff like that. And going from that to having a program where it's like, hey, like that's the business.
it's kind
you
of
know what I mean?
encouraged.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like weird to get out of like that I guess that like mentality of like, whoa, like that's weird. Like this person's like, having this like, tough time on camera. Like I found at first when I was like, whenever people went through it in the first program, there was moments where like I still would like go back into like my high school mindset where I'm like, whoa, dude, like chill out. Like you're going to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like when you go through it, you're like, by the end of it, you're like, oh, like, like he's really getting somewhere with that. Like he's really, learning about himself, and I'm learning about him. You know what I mean? You're seeing a lot in that person that like maybe before you just be like, oh, they're just emotional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think this is a good way to leave the podcast.
Yeah.
Before we do go, is there any socials you want to shout out? Anywhere the people can find you?
I guess pretty much Instagram is a big one. Not really a big Facebook advocate. But yeah, Instagram, Ryan Carriveau, no spaces, Carriveau, Carriveeau. But besides that, no, that's pretty much it.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on the show, and thank
man,
you
my
everybody for
pleasure.
listening. All right. Well, until next time, then. Bye-bye.